Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
And this is the Cinemile. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Today we are going to see the latest in the long-running saga of Indiana Jones movies. It's called Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And Kathy could not be more excited.
I'm not unexcited. I'm just not as excited as you.
I'm not excited.
Oh.
My expectations for this
making me go
movie
see this.
are at rock bottom.
Oh.
Well, we have a movie podcast in which we walk home from the movies and go see the big movies that everyone's seeing. So what do you think we should do?
Yeah, that's true.
You just kind of have to have an opinion on this. But I don't.
I want to go see Barbie, but it's not out yet. For the record.
I'm very much looking forward to Barbie. I would say I have no desire for this movie to exist. I'd rather it didn't. And I am only expecting to be disappointed. So I'm like, it's a very...
you need to say, though, you're a massive Indiana Jones fan.
Yeah, I love those three movies. And grew up watching them. You know, I've owned them on, much like many of our listeners, I'm sure, VHS. Had the VHS trilogy, had the DVD trilogy, I've got the Blu-ray trilogy. You know,
you've made me watch 2 out of 3 episodes.
Yes, head over to our Patreon.
Movies.
Head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/the Cinemile. Join up to our Cinemile High Club and you can hear Kathy's instant reactions after watching Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first ever time.
Which was like 2 weeks ago. So
I'm
prepped for this movie.
Or scroll back in this feed, this free main feed, and you'll find for our 150th episode, Kathy watched The Last Crusade for the first ever time. And I think you enjoyed both of them, right?
Yes, did.
Yeah.
I also really like Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
She's in this.
But I like her as like a writer and creator and subsequent actress in her own stuff. I don't know that I care that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in an Indiana Jones movie. I think what I'd care about is if this is a movie that Phoebe Waller-Jones has like written.
Is she?
Sorry, Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
You're mixing her up with Phoebe Bridges, who's a musician, right? Is that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a musician?
Who is this woman then?
Hang on. Phoebe, oh my God. It's the Fleabag woman.
Fleabag.
I keep getting mixed up with the musician who's Phoebe Bridges.
Okay, there's too many
like
double barrels and too many Phoebes. Anyway,
yeah.
You all know I'm talking about Fleabag. If this was like her movie that she made and wrote, I would be super pumped. But because she's just in an Indiana Jones movie, that leaves me with little to no interest in her role in it. Right. As much as I like her, it doesn't make me want to see the movie more. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make me not want to see the movie either. So yeah, and I think the problem with this movie in terms of like excitement levels is just because they made a whole big deal about it like 15 years ago that he was coming back for Indiana Jones and it was like his last movie.
Yeah, and that kind of felt like one last one.
And now they're doing it
and it had an ending, you know, not to spoil it, but it had an ending which felt like, okay, we're all done and now let's let someone else have a go. And then audience says, we don't want that guy to have a go.
It's also like, do you know what we can do? We can just CGI Harrison Ford and make him look younger.
Yeah, which, according to the trailers of this movie, is going to happen. And I gotta say, I watched the trailer for this, and it does look good. Mm-hmm. Like in the trailer was good.
Yeah.
You know, and once I think though, to be fair, once you stick that music over it, any footage,
exactly,
it gets the heart going.
And we've been talking about. I can't wait to see the CGI and kind of how they do it, because it does give me the heebie-jeebies. Absolutely. I also don't like it as a precedent in Hollywood because it's like so hard for anyone to get an acting gig in the first place, and then if you just go, oh, we don't need new talent, we can just CGI old famous people, it feels wrong, like creatively to me. But I'm interested in it technically because they have so much footage of Harrison Ford as a young person like in these movies that I feel like they'll be able to do a pretty good job of it.
But also I think this is an appropriate use case for it, where he's in the movie, he's older, there's going to be presumably some flashback scenes of him where he's younger, he's actively an actor in this movie, has consented to this. You know, the weird grey area with this stuff is like when James Dean was in a movie like 2 years ago.
That's sick.
You know,
that's actually sick and wrong.
Stuff is wrong.
But there is also the argument to say, but they could have just cast a younger actor to be young Indiana Jones in this movie.
But then, and look, like, we got that. River Phoenix, sorry. We can't get anyone's names right today. River Phoenix played a young Indiana Jones.
We know who they need to cast as young Indiana Jones.
What? Who?
It's the guy who played
Don't say Chris
Solo. Who looks exactly like Harrison Ford.
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah.
He needs to just be in all Harrison Ford movies playing the younger version of him.
Clearly there's not a demand for that either. I don't know, you can't satisfy everybody. And look...
But technically it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
to see how they do it.
Another interesting thing, this is the first Indiana Jones movie not to be directed by Steven Spielberg.
Oh wow!
James
That is
Mangold coming in from Walk the Line, Logan. You know,
Right,
really
yeah.
good, solid director.
You
I
did
think.
tell me this. Yeah,
I think
Logan
he'd do
is.
a good job.
We love Logan. That is
Yeah.
such a movie. So that gives me a bit of hope for this one. But is Steven Spielberg and George Lucas like involved? Like, did George Lucas write it? Because that does not give me hope if he did.
I don't know. I didn't do any research.
The other thing that like
George Lucas probably was involved in the story of this. I'd be very surprised if he wrote the screenplay.
Do you know what though makes me think as well that it's a bit less exciting than when it all happened, whatever it was, 15 years ago, and everyone was really excited, accepting the fact that Shia LaBeouf was in it. This one, we've already had old Harrison Ford come back with a bang for the Star Wars movies in the last decade. It was a really big deal. We had him and
more of a
Princess Leia
whimper.
and Luke Skywalker, like the trio back together again. So we've kind of done all that. So again, this doesn't really feel like, God, I've been dying to see Harrison Ford come back.
And sorry, that's just one instance of every franchise from the 80s coming back from
Yeah.
what
it's
am
a
I
shame.
thinking?
So
Top Gun to
maybe though, and I haven't seen the last movie with Shia LaBeouf, maybe this is a better movie and it will kind of
yeah, I mean it certainly
Right
wouldn't be
that one
hard
off,
to
yeah.
top it. Let's head in anyway. And looking, I'm looking forward to having an opinion
I
on
think
this.
though what
I
I'm
just want it to be done, you know.
what I'm most excited about is like it's very long, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and usually we try and go to the cinema
But
like
that's the minimum now for
Friday night
for any
kinda.
movie, it seems.
Yeah, we usually try and go like the Thursday or Friday night of the new movies come out, but because it was so long and it has a bit of a Sunday afternoon vibe, we've got special babysitting in for
It is a Sunday afternoon right now.
Yeah, we're going.
And it does that. You're right. That feels like the perfect Indiana Jones movie, you know, or time. You know, you stick it on.
Yeah.
It's on ITV 3, you know, or ITV 4 probably at like 1:30 in the
That's what it
afternoon
feels
on a
like.
sleepy on the best consumed in that sleepy period between Christmas and New Year's.
And also,
You
just
know.
so our listeners know how quickly we turn around episodes, if you're listening to this on the Sunday, it's because we've just gone to the film,
Yeah,
got home, and put the episode up. That's how
we
quickly.
do this for you.
Looking at you, RTE,
Yeah.
this is what efficient production looks like.
You just absolutely like set the gauntlet for me to get this done tonight. If you're listening to this on
I'm just trying to
on
get it
Monday,
on. I'm just trying to
and it
get
just
it.
arrived,
I'm just trying
then
to
I'm
get
sorry.
it on the RTE kind of shenanigans.
Yeah, I know. I see. I see
Anyone
what
outside
you're
of
doing.
Ireland won't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone
let's go.
inside of Ireland
Will
are
be
like, why
obsessed.
is Kathy preparing this so starchy? Okay,
No, I'm showing what efficient production looks like.
Kathy, just publish your earnings. That's all the people want. They want to know what level of 6-figure are we getting for this to see Indiana Jones?
Let's just say the cinema makes a lot of money.
You know it,
Yeah.
right? That's sarcasm. Bye.
Bye.
Hitler made mistakes, and with this, I will correct them all.
You stole it.
Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
This way!
Fasten your seatbelts. There might be some turbulence.
You've taken your chances, made your mistakes. And now a final triumph.
Give him hell, Indiana Jones.
A few times in my life, I've seen things.
I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times, including once by your father. Sorry.
But I've been looking for this all my life.
Hi, we're back. We've just seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It's a Sunday afternoon, as Kathy said. It's very sunny. It's a very sleepy Sunday afternoon vibe. Kathy did fall asleep in that movie.
For 1 minute and Dave woke me up.
I feel very tired as well.
It was no reflection of the film. I just nodded off, which you tend to do on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it was
at the
warm
movies.
in there.
It was very
We're
warm.
getting older now, much like Harrison Ford. I will say, if it's your first time here, we don't spoil the movie, so you can feel free to listen if you want to hear our thoughts until we get to Spoiler Street, when you can switch off if you don't want to know about that Dial of Destiny. Kathy, tell us. I think I know from your general vibe.
Spoiler-free thoughts?
Everything you thought. Yeah, when you're with someone for long enough, you can just tell what they think from their body language from sitting next to you
First
in a
of
dark
all,
room.
the movie we watched 2 weeks ago was the third
Called?
one.
Nope. Wow. Incredible.
What one in the franchise was it?
The
second
first one?
The first one.
My God. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I can't, but I don't remember the order of movies.
What goes on in your head?
Anyway, the one we watched 2 weeks ago, the first one.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Perfect prequel to this film. Absolutely perfect. I'm really glad we watched it. It really enriched the experience of this film for me.
It's a bit rich calling it a prequel to this film.
Well,
like this film is the...
This is the main deal, right? That's
Yeah.
the prequel.
That's
Anyway,
just a prequel.
That was perfect. So thank you to you and our patrons for voting for us to watch that, because that was perfect. So I actually felt much more connected to the film than I think I otherwise would have. I love the opening sequence. Felt like a proper Indiana Jones opening sequence. And I have to say, actually, overall, I really enjoyed it. What I was really happy to see on screen was like an old school, big budget, proper action movie that is not a superhero movie.
Yeah.
And is not like a Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah, it was refreshing, wasn't it?
It felt refreshing.
There were no dinosaurs up there except Harrison Ford.
Nice. I think James Mangold did a brilliant job, like to follow in Spielberg's footsteps is, you know, no mean feat. I think he did a fantastic job. And I think Harrison Ford still got it. He's amazing. He's an absolute superstar. And we'll speak a little bit more about CGI young Harrison Ford in Spoiler Streep. But in fairness, I think it worked. It was 98% there. Like, if I hadn't just watched the other movie, I might have thought it was 100% there. But what this CGI Harrison Ford unfortunately cannot capture is the pure raw sexiness of really young Harrison
Yeah, computer
Ford.
graphics aren't quite as sexy.
It wasn't quite, it didn't have his charisma, but it was very good.
There were a few I found myself, you know, when the CG bit's on screen, I was squinting at
Same,
it,
I was
looking
obsessed.
for the faults, and I found a few, but I was like, maybe if I wasn't squinting so hard at this. But this is a funny phenomenon which happened to me. Then when the normal Harrison Ford 80 whatever was on screen, I found myself still squinting and looking for the CG, and I was like, oh wait, no,
That's just him.
that's just his
I
face.
think at some points, and not all the points of the CGI one, because obviously he was doing actiony things as well, but at some points it was clearly just actually Harrison Ford from now with the face map. So he's supposed to be young, but he has really old
Moving
body.
like an old man.
And
yeah.
the other thing that didn't quite line up was that he'd Harrison Ford's like old man voice, but coming out of the young one.
Yeah.
But like, it's very good, and as we say, it doesn't have all the ethically dubious stuff of, you know, using dead people. So I kind
you're
of actually
saying-
enjoy that, and also then finally Phoebe Waller-Bridge is her name. Thank you, Dave, for trying to make me question my reality. She's
Sorry.
very good in it, actually. I think she really held her own against Harrison Ford. I think she's brilliant. And good to see her not playing Fleabag, because I don't really know her.
But you were
outside of
getting
that.
annoyed, but this is what I meant by your body language. She was that character was
character.
annoying you a lot.
Oh, her character annoyed me,
Yeah.
but I think she did it very well.
Okay.
I just thought her character annoyed me, but we'll get to that in Spoiler Street. And it finally continues in the fine indie tradition of casting a very good kid actor who actually was a bit of a scene stealer.
Yeah, that kid was good.
So, and it was very long, but I actually don't begrudge it, because the type of movie it is, the type of movie the prequels are, and the period of time it's referencing. Movies were older and they had really big sets and loads going on, and I think it's fine to continue in that tradition of it being very long.
But those movies weren't very, very long.
Long enough.
Those movies were about 2 hours.
Yeah.
This has an extra 20 minutes. Did it
Yeah,
need it?
I don't begrudge it, the 20 minutes, albeit I did fall asleep for one of them. Right, Dave.
Ethan
Thoughts?
Isidore is the kid, Teddy, who plays Teddy in this movie.
Thank you for
Shout out.
ignoring me while I spoke, because you were scrolling IMDb.
I'm not ignoring
which is
you.
your most toxic trait. Your most toxic trait.
you were shouting at that actor. I thought we should name them.
But also, your favourite thing is to live IMDb scroll. Now, what do
Yeah.
you think of the movie?
I thought it was good. What did you think, by the way? Because I wasn't listening to anything you said. No, I'm only joking. I did enjoy it. I thought the first half was a lot better than the second half. I thought it gets very saggy in the middle.
First half was brilliant.
And I got a bit sort of. It was funny when I turned over and you had your eyes closed, and I was like, "Are you asleep?" That was exactly the moment where I was feeling like I'd love to just drift off now.
Well, it's like the middle act needs to be tightened up,
Yeah.
which is the case
I'm
with
like-
90% of films.
And so, but honestly, for the first half of this movie, I was like thinking to myself, I'm having a good time.
We actually turned to each other and went, like, this is really
Yeah,
good.
this is actually quite good. I'm like, the plot and the machinations and the Deus Ex Machina and the and the momentum was all there. I thought it's quite compelling.
It's
you
a
got
great
a decent
opening.
villain. So
Good,
I'm
great
like,
villain, yeah.
so I'm like, yeah, you've got all the parts. But then it just started to like lose itself in the middle. It was just kind of just going about itself, A to B. Then it got really interesting in the end, and then the very end, I was like, so I don't know. I feel like it's totally fine.
5 minutes before the end, we were like having heart palpitations. We were so excited at what we thought the ending was going to be.
And then it was like,
And then it changed. And we were both like, aww.
Okay, I don't know about that. Let's talk about that in spoilers. But what I will applaud the film for is, I agree with you. I think James Mangold, came in and there's a lot of legacy here. I think he did a really fine job of just making a consistent indie film.
Yeah, would we have known it wasn't Spielberg if...
No, that's what I'm saying.
I
think and you're right, Harrison Ford still loves being in this role. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I thought was very fun and charming. I liked her in this role.
Yeah.
I've never seen her in an action role. I thought she did great.
Mm-hmm.
I believed her as an action heroine. So yeah, it's an Indiana Jones movie for sure. Is it?
Better than the fourth one, which I have...
Yeah, it probably is a little bit more satisfying than that overall. But is it better than those old 3 classics in the 80s? I mean,
obviously not. Like,
no.
but I mean, they're just a prequel. They were all building up to this moment.
Yes, of course.
This was to be the story George Lucas was waiting to tell, but sadly they didn't let him screenwrite on this one. But he did obviously produce, or had a producing credit alongside Steven Spielberg.
So did this movie need to be made? No. Am I unhappy that I watched it? No. Will I ever watch it again? Probably not. But it was totally fine and entertaining, and I gotta say, you're dead right. It was kind of what's the word? It was kind of just like nice to be at the cinema at a huge event movie that wasn't a Marvel
our cinema
thing
was
or
really busy, which is lovely.
Star Wars or whatever. It was just like,
get people into the cinemas, and like this movie is doing that.
I wonder now, will it be successful at the box office? I'm quite curious about that. But yeah, so I don't know what else to.
I think we need to go to Spoiler Street.
It was pretty good, I guess. Let's go to Spoiler Street.
There's actually a lot to spoil on this, so if you even have an inclination of at some point watching it on demand or whatever, I would actually say turn this off, because it had plots that I didn't anticipate.
It's not a bad way to spend 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah. And I think get out, go to the cinema, support dinosaur franchises. I don't know what the message is here.
I don't know what the message is either, but I just.
But people aren't going to, like, people
go to the cinema for this,
for
sure. Are you kidding me? Of a certain age group.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is one of the oldest movie franchises. It's 40 years old, right?
Yeah, but are the teenagers going to go?
But it doesn't matter about the teenagers. Who's got the most money in their pockets?
I don't know. Who, Kathy?
The pre-millennials.
The pre-millennials. Yeah. Who are the pre-millennials? Is that Gen Z?
No,
the
millennials, Gen X.
Gen X, yeah. Pre-millennials.
Yeah, they got the most money and they're going to go see it, so fine.
This one's for you, Gen X.
Okay, now we are going to Spoiler Street for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny now.
Oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to just go straight to the end?
Straight to it, like.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones time travel.
What the fuck? No, I'm fine with the time travel thing. I actually thought that was really interesting and charming. I loved the whole continental drift thing.
Especially when we were like, it's continuous time theory. It's his watch.
Yeah.
We love.
Yeah, we were turning to each other and like, obviously, because they made a big deal about Mads Mikkelsen putting on the watch.
And also they had been like,
that's the watch that Archimedes has, obviously.
Like the fact that this is where I love a big bold swing. This film opens with us hearing about this battle and Archimedes or whatever his name is, all that stuff. It ends with Harrison Ford at the battle.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now come on, that is fun, that is cool. I also love that they've kept the through line of the Nazis are the baddies. It's actually a very good plot mechanism when your baddies are Nazis, because then you can just be like, kill them, kill them, kill them, kill them, and the audience doesn't mind. So they kind of kept that through line as well. Now, what makes no sense in this film?
I think the most overused line in this whole movie was,
you're a Nazi.
You're a Nazi. They're Nazis.
I mean, you never see the swastika anymore, except in Indiana Jones movies, where it's prolific. Right. But what is most ludicrous, beyond ludicrous of the time travel in this film, is that it's set, 28 years after the last one?
Well, moon landing 1969, so
When was
it'd
the
be
last one set?
24 years. They were 1942, 1941, 1943.
Sorry, not after the last one, after the original ones.
The original one is set in 1940.
Yeah. So
One, I wanna
Harrison
say-
Ford is only supposed to be 20 years older, roughly, than he was in those movies.
Yeah.
But in fact,
he's about 28 years older than he was in Raiders
But in
of the Lost
fact,
Ark.
he's
Yeah.
40 plus years older.
But look, I think what we're trying to say,
So
what they're
so
trying to
he's
say,
too old.
but what they're trying to say here is here is a man who's 60, in his late 60s. That's what we're supposed to believe.
But why didn't they just set it in, if you went by the actual time, which would be like 1979? Like, why did they
I
need
don't
it
know,
to be set in the 60s?
because they wanted a moon landing parade. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe-
I got really lost by
Maybe
that.
it's because they were like, don't be ridiculous. An 80-something-year-old man can't do all this bullshit, but a 60-something-year-old man, maybe.
And they wanted to be, which, by the way, I'm so sorry, but I absolutely love the fact that they just killed off Shia LaBeouf's character. They're like, nobody liked
off
him.
screen.
So they wanted to be like, oh, he died in the Vietnam War. Now, he still could have, though, and it could have been set in the 80s.
And they turned it into one of the more emotional moments in any of the Indiana Jones movies, I'd say.
Yeah.
I thought that scene in the boat where he says what he would do
Yeah.
if he went back in time, I thought it was quite heartbreaking. But yeah, you're right. It was just like very much like, oh, do you remember that character
It's like,
nobody
oh,
liked?
nobody liked Shia LaBeouf.
He
don't worry
died
about
off
it.
screen on the way to his home planet.
And also, the endings. I think we should just cut straight to the ending. I
Yeah,
was
what the
so
fuck?
excited.
I'm sorry.
I was so excited that I thought Indiana Jones
Leave him stay there.
was going to live in the past. And I know it's corny, but it would have been like, do you know what? It's such a fitting end for an archaeologist.
I thought he was going to die in the past.
I
That's
know.
way more interesting. He had a mortal wound.
Yeah.
Let him die in the past and become a part of history in his death. That's so
No,
fitting
even better.
for that character.
I thought Archimedes was going to patch him up, and then they were going to work together, and he would have spent his dying days like as Archimedes' like student.
but
getting
no,
some
but that,
life
why?
back
That
in the
doesn't
old
make sense
bones.
to me. Anyway,
But then Phoebe Waller-Bridge is like, no, you can't stay back in time because they, even though they don't reference the space-time continuum, it's kind of implied, oh, you'd have changed history. How do you know that?
I
Maybe
don't
he always
understand.
stayed there.
Exactly. I didn't
No one explained
understand.
that.
I didn't understand her motivation in this moment. She spends the whole movie, right? I guess
Not
her
giving a shit
her
about
arc
him.
is supposed to be, and I thought this was quite good. I liked that she did not give a shit about him, left him to die several times, and then I guess her arc is supposed to be she's, you know, I'm not all about the money anymore, whatever. I kind of like you, but then suddenly she's just like this expert on time travel, and she's like, you can't do this, you don't belong here.
They don't know that.
And I'm just like, what are you talking
Because
about?
they proved that it was continuous time theory that got them there. So therefore, how do you know?
He's not meant to be
but
there.
that you
Yeah,
all weren't
exactly.
meant to be there.
And that's what Archimedes was saying. You know, you were always meant to meet me. I was like,
think she changed the course by being an absolute gal and forcing Harrison Ford to come back to New York where he doesn't want to
no.
be.
But then, Kathy, if your argument is time is just a circle and all of this was fated to happen anyway, as in destiny, then maybe the end. Well, in the movie is saying that he isn't supposed to.
But how does she know that though?
Well, she doesn't. I don't know why she was so adamant that he couldn't stay there. And I think it's weird because she robbed him of his agency in that moment.
Exactly.
The character
He wanted
would have
to
had
die
a
there.
perfect death.
Yeah. She ruined
and a
our
perfect
ending.
out. A perfect out. Instead, we got this really weird. Firstly, I'm sick of, but it's very consistent for Indiana Jones. I'm sick of someone getting punched in the jaw. He says my
Yeah.
jaw hurts, and being knocked unconscious.
Now,
that
in
doesn't
fairness-
happen.
In fairness, though, he was purportedly bleeding out, albeit he'd been shot like
I
15
guess.
minutes before and he had done a lot of shenanigans.
But sorry.
And after he was shot,
Kathy-
he parachuted out of a plane and was completely
What
fine.
happened in those moments before he gets punched in the jaw, fade to black, open on a pair of socks in a window? I'm like, so they loaded a mortally wounded 60-something, excuse me, old man into an airplane in ancient Sicily, 213 BC,
Yeah.
in the middle of a battle.
Battle was over.
Whatever, battle was over, but they just like, where did they get a runway? How did they get back up through a
Dave,
portal?
the kid
managed
knows
to
how
get
to
him
fly planes.
so they got him like healed before he dies, whatever.
Yeah.
But then all of this happens, and then they transport him from Italy back to his bed in America, and he doesn't wake up. He's totally fine. it's
Well, the implication is it's not actually said that he hasn't woken up previous. It's just the first we see. Because he just says you should have left me there.
Okay, fine. But
He's been in and out of
the implication is he's just coming to, and Marion's been there for ages, and he has no idea what's going on.
Marion had only arrived that morning.
Sorry.
Seen that the cupboards
Oh,
were
sure.
empty.
Yeah. Gone out for
shopping.
groceries. Fantastic.
Come
So
back.
she just got back.
We haven't
how about
talked
this other
about-
big elephant in the room that happened in this Fade to Black, which is he's wanted for murder.
Well,
but
no,
it's
that's
like,
all been cleared up.
Oh, that's all been cleared up because you just explained to the authorities, no, that was a time-traveling Nazi
Yeah, exactly.
who was so solely responsible for the Apollo 11 moon landing. So, yeah, no further questions asked.
Absolutely
don't worry about it.
nothing to
Yeah.
see here.
Even though...
I really like that they brought back the his Egyptian friend from the first movie.
Salah, yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
really happy about that. So that's where I felt like such a smog, like, oh, I know that movie.
They
I
had
know
a
that
nice
character.
moment in the airport. There's some
Like,
some
I'm
good
hap-
scenes in this.
I'm happy for him and Marion. It's just like, look,
But it was
for
just
whatever
like-
reason, they had decided they were separated, gone their separate ways. I feel like Indy would rather die in the past than be like a 60-something-year-old
And I'm sorry.
in New York in the prison where he feels like a dinosaur.
Exactly, and that like he was robbed of his much better ending.
Yeah.
Then you got this smug Helena character sitting on his couch
couldn't
drinking
stand her.
coffee. In this moment, I thought she was
Can't
a good
stand
character,
her.
but in that moment, I'm like, you just like punched this man out and robbed him of his, and then what took him
Against
back to
his
his
will.
awful apartment against his will, just so you could reunite him with his
Now, in fairness,
ex-wife
they did
because
have
of
the
one
scene-
scene you had on a boat.
They did have the scene on the boat where he was like, me and my wife have never recovered from the death of her son, and she's like, but you're still wearing your ring, and it's like, yeah, he knows he's still wearing his ring, like,
Yeah.
you don't actually need to tell him that. But like, for all we know, Marion had moved on. Like, for all she knew, Marion's like remarried and is like has a very nice life with somebody new. Like, she had no reason
Yeah,
to
imagine
reunite
if she
them.
dragged him back 2,000 years just to find out.
Also, sorry, when she
It's
phoned
like-
up Marion and she's like, you don't know who I am. I'm your husband's goddaughter. We actually just travelled through time.
Maybe she
and now
didn't
we're
say that.
back in New York, and I'd very much like you come and do some shopping.
P.S. He's not wanted for murder anymore. Don't worry about that.
Also,
Just
when
a
he
big-
was wanted for murder, and when his friend, the very handsome Antonio Banderas, is shot, she
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit. Like, her character was really
Her character,
weird.
I'm not sure when her character changed or grew a heart or whatever. Like, it doesn't really
It was
add up.
something to do with when she thought the little boy might have died, but that's approximately when I fell asleep.
She also didn't really seem to care too much. She kind of half-heartedly says to Indy at some point, are you sure he's going to be okay? And Indy's like, yeah, they're not going to hurt him. Even though they've clearly just murdered everyone in cold blood, everyone else they've met in the movie.
Before we get home,
So it's like,
before we get
Anyway,
home, so nearly home.
why we just-
the opening scene was so fun. And it was
yeah,
such an indie
it
scene.
was good. It did.
And it was made me think, do you know what? I can now see why they didn't want to use a younger actor, because it's like, it's a proper 20 minutes of the movie, and they probably felt like by opening it on a different actor, they'd have lost some of that spark with the audience. Albeit, look, you already have us here.
But
We're
that's
not gonna leave
exactly
the
what they
cinema.
did in The Last Crusade with River Phoenix.
Yeah.
But I guess that's different because he's a kind of a kid. Versus
Yeah,
if you'd had a different adult
Yeah,
playing
but this is an 80-year-old playing a 40-year-old. Like, they
Yeah.
also, it was so funny because there was two actors who we know in the past scene. So it was obviously Toby Jones and then what's his name, Mads
Mikkelsen.
Mikkelsen. Toby Jones had not been de-aged, so we were like, oh, he's going to be dead then at the end of the scene.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
Mads
yeah.
Mikkelsen had been de-aged.
Despite the fact,
Hence him coming back.
Mads Mikkelsen was like smacked in the face at 80 miles an hour
Yeah.
by like a train signal.
He
I was
needed,
like,
like, a-
he's dead.
He needed a Bond
had a
villain scar.
Tiny.
No,
he
he-
had the tiniest
He
of scars
needed
on
a
his forehead.
Gaping facial acknowledgement of what happened to him.
Yeah, I was like,
It was very
oh.
Bond-esque though, and very Mission Impossible-esque. I enjoyed all the stuff with people jumping around the roofs of buildings, like when she was
Also-
when she was chased out of the library. I enjoyed all the parade stuff. I enjoyed the train stuff. Like, the set pieces were very cool.
They were good, but I will say there's no like, there's moments in those old Indiana Jones movies which I'm like, all right, so Raiders, the truck chase, when he's in and out of the trucks. There was nothing as good as that. The Last Crusade
the
on the
tuk-tuk stuff
tank
was good though.
The tuk-tuk stuff was
good.
okay, except it was all very like.
was all very-
it lacked weight.
It was
like,
very much weight every time I looked at it, but there's no human way that an 80-year-old could be doing this.
Yeah, and it was just like those tuk-tuks were going too fast. They were like turning at impossible angles. It all felt a little too CG for me, even though some of it was clearly shot with actual stunt work. So look, I don't know. I think we spent a lot of time sort of picking apart the little holes of this movie. But look, broadly speaking, I think consistently with Indiana Jones movies, you do just have to kind of leave reason a little bit behind and just get in the vibe of it.
I also really enjoyed the eels when someone said they look like snakes, because no, they don't.
Yeah.
I actually think someone should just, even if you've seen the movies, or I think people before they watch this one really should just go watch the first one and then this, because they're lovely bookends. In fairness, it does. Like, they can come back again. Are they going to come back when he's 90?
Well, I don't know, because
him and Marion are broken up again.
The ending is like very much like, oh, he takes the hat back, and I'm like, because it was hanging up and then he took it back. I'm like, I guess it's trying to leave it open.
I have a feeling that there was a version of this film where he stays on the beach with Archimedes or whatever.
It's a better version.
And I feel like some studio exec was like, nah, he has to get back with Marion. But he can't die in the past.
Honestly, I just found it boring.
Yeah, because I was really excited when I thought he was going to end there. I was like, geez, this movie's really gone somewhere I didn't expect.
Saccharine and weird.
It was
and
so
jarring. And then suddenly Salah comes in out of nowhere for no reason with his grandkids, and he's like, hello, everyone. What are we doing? Let's go for ice cream.
It's because someone was like, you need to reference the first film more. But that's where he always had kids all around him.
Yeah, but like... I don't know. That just felt off.
You let us down.
It felt like a reshoot. You're right. Maybe
James Mangold, you let us down. He should have died on the beach, or at least gone to Normandy and died at the beaches there. He needed to die in the past.
It's like they couldn't let Indiana Jones just be like his passion. Yeah, he kind of loved Marion, I guess, in the end, clearly. But it's just like, but his first love was always history. And
100%.
And that is even in Raiders of the Lost Ark. She's like, you left me. And he continues to leave her during the course of that movie. He leaves her tied up to go after the Ark, right? So I'm just like, you've just like manufactured this kind of wrong ending for this character because everyone has to fall in love and have companionship. And I know he was lonely at the beginning of the movie.
But that's only because he felt like he was without purpose because he was retiring.
Like, he came to life in the end when he was in 213
I don't think it was anything to do with Marion. He even stuck a fridge magnet over her face. Like, he was over her. Like, he just wanted to be back having adventures again, using his whip and all that. How has he kept up such upper body strength in the kind of in-between years? As an aging history lecturer.
Pulling himself up by that.
Anyway, it was fun. I'm glad we watched it.
Let us know what you guys think. I think there's kind of be... I mean, I'm interested to hear some other opinions.
I'm really interested, and I'm really interested in the box office.
I don't think it's easy to hate this film.
No.
It's totally serviceable as a film. But it's not.
To be in the right mood for it.
It's not amazing either.
Yeah, but we knew it was never going to be amazing. Come on, it's a fairly decent attempt. And let us know what you think. Head over to Instagram at the Cinemile, or Twitter at the Cinemile, or the cinemile@gmail.com. And most of all, we would greatly appreciate if you like the podcast, if you would go over to Spotify and rate and subscribe, and go to Apple Podcasts and rate and subscribe.
Or wherever you are that has ratings, I guess.
Yeah, but those are kind of the two main ones.
Yeah.
Rilla. Thank you.
Thanks for dialing in to this. No, that doesn't make sense. Bye.
Bye.
I'm Laura.
I'm Lauren.
And this is Go Love Yourself. She went, you're 26? I was like, size 26, yeah. And she was like, oh, right, that makes sense.
This is the show where we're learning to love ourselves a little more and taking you along with us.
I grew up never seeing anybody that looked like me, and that made me feel like not part of society, like almost like not a woman, because I just never felt like I fit in.
If you've got a relative that is mean about your body, Laura, what do we say to them?